Hi, I'm Erik Voss, and now that Game of Thrones Season 7 is coming, a ton of you guys have been hitting me up asking about this new theory about who will be revealed as the real hero of Westeros when the series ends. And yes, I know I'm wearing glasses, I'm having issues with contacts, also want to look smarter for this video. Anyway, in this video I'm going to get into some potential spoilers for Season 7 of Game of Thrones, but really these are all just theories and predictions based on stuff that has already come up on the show and in the books so far. Okay, if you've been following the show and the books closely, you're probably familiar with the prophecy of Azor Ahai, also sometimes referred to as the prince that was promised. Now, I'm gonna go into the backstory on this prophecy, but if you feel like you already know it pretty well and just want to get right to my theory, you can skip to this time. So, in George R. R. Martin's universe, the prince that was promised was an ancient prophesied leader who will deliver the world from darkness. According to legend, he will be born amidst smoke and salt under a bleeding star, and he will have a song, the Song of Ice and Fire. Now, obviously there's a lot of metaphorical language here, and a lot of people over the years have interpreted this differently. Naturally, pretty much everyone tries to exploit it for power. So one of the characters believed to be the prince that was promised was Stannis Baratheon. In the eyes of Lady Melisandre, he was actually considered the second coming of Azor Ahai. Now, Azor Ahai is an ancient legendary hero to the followers of the Lord of Light, R'hllor. Azor Ahai wielded a fiery sword called Lightbringer, and people of this religion believe Azor Ahai will be reborn as a new person with his own fiery sword to defeat the darkness brought on by the others, the White Walkers. So really, Azor Ahai reborn and the prince that was promised are kind of terms that are just used interchangeably. And nowadays, people believe that they point to the same prophetic figure. Now, Melisandre assumed that Stannis was Azor Ahai reborn, interpreting the red comet that appeared in the sky in Season 2 to be the bleeding star. But considering the way things ended for Stannis, that's obviously not the case. Now, there was another character who arrived, so to speak, under this bleeding star around the same time, Daenerys Targaryen. The miraculous birth of her dragons at the end of Season 1 was a key symbolic rebirth for her character, taking place amid smoke and I guess salt? Maybe in that salty desert sand or the tears she wept for Khal Drogo. Again, guys, this is all metaphorical. But the other popular candidate for Azor Ahai reborn is Jon Snow. This guy freaking resurrected from the dead with the help of Melisandre and her prayers to the Lord of Light. And really, more than anyone else on the show, Jon seems to be the most heroic leader against the White Walkers. But long before these two people, many believed that the prince that was promised was Rhaegar Targaryen, including Rhaegar himself. He was known to be a singer and an amazing swordsman, and in Book 3, Daenerys learns that her late brother found something in a scroll and decided that he must become a warrior. I'm guessing it was this prophecy. Also, in the books, in Daenerys' vision, she sees her brother holding the baby Aegon Targaryen, cryptically saying he is the prince that was promised and his is a song of ice and fire. Now, of course, that baby was horribly murdered by the Mountain, Gregor Clegane, in the sack of King's Landing. So that wasn't the case. But we also know that Rhaegar had another baby, Jon Snow. So maybe this is more evidence that Jon is the prince that was promised. Anyway, there are also just a ton of alternate theories that Azor Ahai could be someone else, like Bran, Arya, Tyrion, Samwell Tarly. Just kidding, no one thinks it's him. But the newest theory out there is that Azor Ahai reborn is Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, the villainous, incestuous twin brother turned more redemptive, but still kind of incestuous hero. And here's why this guy could end up saving all of Westeros by the end of the series. So according to legend, Azor Ahai created his flaming sword, Lightbringer, in a 3-step forging process. And again, all these details are really meant to be metaphor that we can interpret and apply to other people who have similar parallel journeys. So first, Azor Ahai forged for 30 days and 30 nights, and then he tempered the sword in water, but the sword broke. So the second time, he spent 50 days and 50 nights and tempered it by plunging it into the heart of a lion, but again, the steel shattered. And the third time, he spent 100 days and 100 nights, and he called in his wife, Nissa, and drove the sword into her heart, and her soul merged with the steel to create Lightbringer. And if you think about it, these 3 crucial steps correspond to Jaime's character arc, transitioning him from the detestable Kingslayer to the more heroic Jaime Lannister. So one of the first big character moments for Jaime, both in the books and in the show, was right after he lost his hand. Remember, he took a bath with Brienne and breaks down emotionally as well as physically, revealing his side of the story that led to his famous nickname of Kingslayer. So, just like when Azor Ahai tempered his first sword in water, it shattered. When Jaime goes into the water, he breaks as well. And pay close attention to how this confession scene ends.
But what right?
The Kingslayer!
Jaime. My name's Jaime.
So this is Jaime's rebirth, breaking out of this Kingslayer shell to become a more morally complex hero. Okay, so another key step for Jaime's growth as a character was the breaking apart of the Lannister family structure. So throughout season 4, Jaime rapidly loses his son Joffrey, followed by his father Tywin, which results in the exile of his brother Tyrion. In fact, it was Jaime's decision to defy his father and free Tyrion that led to Tyrion killing Tywin by firing an arrow directly into his heart. Of course, Tywin was the patriarch of the Lannisters, whose sigil is the lion. And as Cersei coldly told Jaime at Tywin's funeral, it was Jaime's actions that killed their daddy lion.
Tyrion may be a monster, but at least he killed our father on purpose. You killed him by mistake, with stupidity.
So by breaking away from this pride of lions, Jaime parallels the second step of Azor Ahai's forging, plunging the sword into the heart of the lion. And that brings us to the final step, Azor Ahai's sacrifice of his wife and companion, Nissa. And here's where things get interesting. So besides Azor Ahai and the prince that was promised, another key prophecy in Game of Thrones was the one that Cersei received as a young girl from the Wood Witch, who's Maggie the Frog in the books. So even though this doesn't happen in the show, in the books, Cersei is also told that she will die by the hand of her Voluncar, and that's a Valyrian word for younger brother. Now, Cersei has always interpreted that younger brother to be Tyrion, which is one of the reasons she's always been so suspicious of him. Remember, in season 2, Tyrion threatens her with this line.
The day will come when you think you're safe and happy, and your joy will turn to ashes in your mouth.
And that threat has always haunted her. But now it appears that Voluncar could be a different younger brother, her twin brother, Jaime Lannister, who was born a few minutes after her. So remember, Cersei just blew up a huge piece of King's Landing using the same jars of wildfire that the Mad King stored beneath the city. The same war crime that Jaime slew that king to prevent. So now that Cersei has become a bit of a mad queen, it's possible that Jaime might repeat history, fulfilling his destiny both as the Voluncar and Azor Ahai, sacrificing his longtime companion to create Lightbringer. Now, what would this fiery sword look like? So in my breakdown of the season 7 trailer, I talked about how Jaime's new sword, Widow's Wail, was one of the twin Valyrian steel swords that Tywin melted down from the Stark sword, Ice. And yeah, maybe the moment that Jaime drives this sword into Cersei's heart, it'll burst into flames. And maybe at the same time, Brienne's sword, Oathkeeper, will also burst into flames since they were forged from the same steel Ice. A song of ice on fire. But I think that there's another equally awesome way this could go. Also in that season 7 breakdown, I pointed out how in that shot of the large floor map in the Red Keep, Cersei is standing on the neck of Westeros. But what I didn't point out is that Jaime is standing right beside the east coast of Westeros, and these narrow peninsulas are called the Fingers. So this shot could be foreshadowing Jaime using his literal fingers to strangle Cersei around her neck. But then again, remember that threat from Tyrion.
And your joy will turn to ashes in your mouth.
So it could be that Lightbringer doesn't refer to a literal sword, but Jaime's golden hand bursting into flames as he chokes Cersei, causing literal ashes to form in her mouth. So yeah, it's a pretty gruesome, but pretty epic and poetically justified way for Cersei to die, considering the masses she burned at the end of last season. And yeah, I know this sounds crazy, but when you look back, this visual has been foreshadowed throughout the series. So first, in book 3, right after Jaime's hand is cut off, there's this passage. His hand burned, and his fingers twisting in the flames, the fingers he no longer had. Also in the show, in that key moment I talked about when Jaime freed Tyrion, Jaime holds a fiery torch and it flashes in front of the camera. And sure, that one could be stretching, but there was also this pivotal moment in the first episode when Bran caught Jaime and Cersei in the act, and Jaime's hand is around Cersei's throat. So Jaime's iconic line of
"Things I do for love"
could come full circle later when he's now turned on Cersei. And speaking of Bran, in season 4, there's an interesting scene where Bran, Mira, and Jojen Reed speculate on their journey, specifically how it would end.
This isn't the end.
How will we know the end?
You'll know.
So remember, Jojen Reed would dream visions of the future, and maybe this is Jojen's way of saying that they'll know it's the end when Azor Ahai returns to vanquish the White Walkers, with his Lightbringer being a hand of fire. Also, here's a fun detail that could connect Jaime to the Lord of Light prophecy. The Valyrian words for Lord and Light, Aiskio and Onos, are weirdly similar to Aiskion and Ondos, which translate to gold hand. So it could be that over thousands of years, this prophecy just got lost in translation, and the Lord of Light's champion was always destined to be the man with the golden hand. Now, just to be clear, I still think Game of Thrones seems way more focused on Jon and Daenerys as the heroes of the story. Like, the two of them have both experienced classic heroes' journeys, highborn children in exile, traveling to the far corners of the world, coming back from death to become leaders of men. But I would argue that Jaime has experienced the most personal growth. Remember, we hated this guy in that first episode. But then, over time, he completely transformed into a hero that we kind of like. But what are your thoughts? Does Jaime being Azor Ahai reborn sound like a satisfying conclusion for this whole series? Or does that idea take away significance from other characters? Like, guys, that would mean the Prince that was promised can't be Sam. I know, hearts are breaking. But do you think that there's any other unexpected character that you predict will be revealed as Azor Ahai reborn? Or do you think the show can get away with not even resolving this mystery at all? I'm curious to hear any theories that you have. Let me know down in the comments. And again, make sure to check out my season 7 trailer breakdown for more predictions and missable clues about this new season. And if you like this video, please hit like and subscribe to New Rockstars. And if you really like us, you can contribute to us on Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our current patrons, especially Matthew Salvas. You can hit me up on Twitter at EA Voss with any thoughts you have about Game of Thrones Season 7, or follow New Rockstars on Twitter at New Rockstars for updates on our videos. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.